Hand placement. Where do our hands go? It used to be taught that we would find what they call the xiphoid process, the little notch that you can feel. Put 2 fingers down, put your hand down, and that's where your hand goes. That puts you on the lower half of the breastbone. If you feel on yourself, it's almost a notch. That's where you want the pressure from your hand to be. Now, how you do your hands, this is textbook. Wrap your fingers. I don't do CPR like this because it pinches my fingers. I prefer to do CPR by grabbing my wrist and keeping all my pressure right there. The goal is to have all the pressure of your compression right here. So we find our hand placement, 30 to 2. We're going to do 30 compressions at a speed of a minimum of 100 a minute. 23 seconds to do 30 compressions by testing standards. On an adult, how deep do we want our compressions to be? 2 inches. How do we know our compressions are the proper depth? Change very quickly. If I start doing CPR and I'm doing my compressions and I'm building blood pressure and moving blood, what should I expect to see out of my patient? Color change. We do 30 compressions. Everybody know the song Staying Alive by the Bee Gees? Some people are like, I'm not going to admit it. If you don't know that song, if you know another one, Bites the Dust by Queen, both those songs are 100 beats a minute. You give those 2 songs in your head, that's about the speed you need. You'll notice as I do my compressions, 1, I keep my knees close to my patient, keep my body weight above them, and I lock my elbows. I don't care how much you work out, how strong you are, if you start flexing your arms, you fatigue. Another thing is make sure each compression, the chest is coming back up. You'll see people in class do this. Hit 1,000 compressions a minute. The heart's not refilling, you're not moving any blood. As you do your compressions, your hands may come off the chest a little. We know if you bounce a little bit, we're getting full chest recoil. But you have to be able to bounce and stay in one spot. So if you're doing this number, it's a problem. So right in here is where we got to be. We're going to put 2 fingers on the forehead or a hand, 2 fingers under the chin. We're going to tilt the head back. On an adult, pinch the nose, lips to lips. We're going to give a 1 second breath or until we see the chest rise. Stop, wait a second, give another breath. Now, this is immediate family. This is not someone in the hallway at the JC store. This has to be someone you know, because you are taking the risk of getting a disease that you will not be able to get rid of. It's great at home, but don't use it out anywhere else. It's not worth the risk to yourself. Option 2, have some type of barrier device. It could be a simple pocket mask like this, or you may see, there they are, some other types, microshield. This protects you from any fluid exchanges. This is the one I recommend. The simple pocket mask is very, very easy to use. And it has this. This is a one-way valve. Air goes in, nothing comes out. It goes over the patient's face. It says nose. So it should be okay for everybody to use. Tilt the head back. 1 second breath till you see chest rise. Wait a second, another breath. This protects you. It's clear. We can see our patient. If our patient would happen to vomit or have any problems, we can easily pull our mask, turn the patient's head, clear the airway, go right back to work with it without being exposed. These are the ones that you'll commonly find in your first aid kits that you buy from stores. The reason why you find them in there is they're cheap. Being a potential to do CPR, you should have some type of pocket mask. They're inexpensive, less than $20 for one, well worth having. No matter how good you are with your rescue breaths, some of the air is going to bypass the trachea and go down the esophagus into the stomach. It's called gastric distension. After X amount of air goes in the belly, X amount of air in last night's supper is going to come out about yay high. If you're doing mouth to mouth, guess what you caught a mouthful of? That is considered an exposure, just like getting stuck with a dirty needle. You have to go through the test, you got to go through the full gamut. That's why you want some type of barrier device. Air goes in, puke doesn't come out. If they vomit, it's not going to get to you. You can clear the mask, take care of your patient. Option 3, let's say you are in the JC store. Someone goes down, you're not carrying this with you, you want to help. You can do what's called hands-only CPR. You've probably seen about it on TV, seen billboards, stuff like that. Very, very simple. What you're going to do is bare the chest, find your CPR landmark. Start your compressions. Instead of counting to 30, count to 100. When you hit 100, count to 100 again. When you hit 100, count to 100 again. Somewhere around 300 to 400, start wondering where in the heck the ambulance is, because you're going to fatigue out. It's nothing but chest compressions. Continuous. Great in an urban setting. 6-minute ETA or average response time for an ambulance, fire truck there, not a problem. If you live out in the county, there's places in Washington County where it takes 20 minutes at best to get an ambulance. Hands-only CPR is not going to be a positive outcome. So think about where you're at, where you live, what potentials you have there. Hands-only is really, really good for, let's say you are in the JC store. Someone goes down, you start that. Someone comes back with a first aid kit. You can only swap to the 30 to 2 once you get the ability to do that. After we give our rescue breaths, if we were able to do that, we go right back to compressions, 30 to 2, 30 to 2, continuous. If you're in a hands-only situation, it may be, you're at compression number 500 and you're about ready to fall over yourself. There's bystanders standing there. It's, hey, do you see what I'm doing? Let's go and get over here. You just gave that 10-second CPR class. Do not expect the patient to start breathing. It doesn't happen. Very, very, very low chance of that happening. This age group is your best chance of seeing it. Anything above infant, that's made for TV stuff. Child CPR looks, smells, tastes almost exactly like adult CPR. There's one difference, and that's multiple rescuers. It's still 30 to 2. It's 2 inches deep, just like an adult on your compressions. The only change we're going to see is, if me and her's working together, we know children have faster metabolism than what adults do. So we're going to speed up our CPR. Instead of 30 to 2 with 2 people, 15 to 2. That's your only difference. Hand placement, everything else is the same. 2 rescuers, 15 to 2. Infant, we do see a few small changes, and that's because they're small people. When we start our compressions, our compression landmark is still the same. We will go to the nipple line. Our compression depth, 2 inches, 2 inches, 1.5 inches. Only a 1/2 inch difference between an adult and an infant. Now, with our compressions, from about 0 to 6 months, the 2-finger approach is really good. And you guys, if you've ever had CPR, this is the way you see it. If the kid's over 6 months, years of age, you're better off just using one hand. You're still limiting, your hand placement's still the same, but you're getting a little firmer compression, you're not wearing yourself out. Our rescue breaths, we're still going to use the head tilt chin lift, open the airway. Now, one thing we want to watch, everybody here's held a baby, right? You know, babies' heads are just kind of wherever they want to go. They don't have much neck muscle. You can actually tilt their head back so far that you collapse the airway. So what we want to do with them is just make sure that their nose is in what's called the sniffing position. If they're standing up, it just looks like they're sniffing the air. Once we get it to that point, we're good. If we're going to do mouth-to-mouth rescue breaths, we cover the nose and the mouth. If we're going to use a barrier device, This is one time, flip it upside down because it does fit the face a little better. Remember with your rescue breaths, itty bitty lungs, great big lungs, really watch the chest. On an adult, older child, I don't care how much air you can blow out, you're not going to rupture lungs. On an infant, especially the 0 to 6 month age, you can actually rupture their lungs with a rescue breath. So when we go to give them a breath, watch the chest. As soon as you see it move, that's plenty of air. 2 rescuers, we go the 15 to 2. If we witness a child go down, we go through our steps of CPR. If we walk in and find a child unresponsive and do the taps, and we don't know how they got there, if we're by ourselves and we have to leave the child to go call 911 before we leave, we're going to do 2 minutes or 5 rounds of CPR. Then go call, come back. If there's 2 people, do the point, stay, start your CPR. The reason why we do that, adults, very, very common for us to suffer sudden cardiac arrest. 45 years of Marlboro, Miller Lights, McDonald's, and no exercise. People grab their chest, go funk, fall on the floor. Kids, 1 in a million suffer cardiac arrest. When they go in, or suffer sudden cardiac arrest, When they go into cardiac arrest, it's usually caused by outside circumstances or respiratory compromise. That could be choking, drowning, it could be general sickness. Everybody's seen a kid when they have a head cold. Little ones, you can watch them fight it. Kids maintain. Unlike adults, we kind of slowly start going downhill. Kids stay right here the whole time, and when they're done, they're just done. They stop. If we don't know what got the kid there, we want to make sure we give them that extra chance of CPR. Now, outside the science, let's just be honest. 45-year-old, Marlboro, Miller Lite, McDonald's, no exercise, 8-year-old kid. Who am I going to get back?
Kid.
I'm putting my money on the 8-year-old any day. Give them that extra shot of CPR before you leave them.